Malane said all the affirmations, meditations, altars, EFT, crystals, whatever your thing is, has no impact on whether your life will change or not. The only way to really change your life is to make new choices. If you're not doing that, you're essentially running around in a big old circle, distracted by your ego, who is totally convinced that a breakthrough will come after you buy this new rainbow quartz crystal. Hi, I'm Amber Shani. I am personal assistant and mentee to Malane Shani, and she has served thousands as a powerfully authentic guide in transformation, healing, and activation for over 30 years. You're watching Malanenomics, the Laws of Malane Shani, where the head and heart come to meet. Welcome to Malanenomics, where the head and heart come to meet. Here we always ask WWMD, what will Malane do? You can meet my mentor Malane Shani at Malaneshani.com and book a session with her at Malaneshani.as.me. Law number 13, choose. The choices we make lead up to actual experiences. It is one thing to decide to climb a mountain. It is quite another to be on top of it. Herbert A. Simon. In my mind, changing your life was hard, incredibly hard. If there's books, television shows, motivational speakers, and coaches dedicated to helping people change their lives, it has to be hard, right? So of course, in my plight to be different and eventually flex on all my peers, a highly motivating factor in the first few months of my personal growth journey, I gathered all of the books and tools I could find. I would spend several hours looking for the perfect couple of affirmations to help change my life. I thought to myself, if I meditate enough and say these affirmations, something is bound to change. So as I said in my post about spirit, I upped the ante on my spiritual daily practices. And I thought it was working. I saw external positive evidence. People were beginning to treat me differently, and I began to feel more confident in myself and my work. I just recently realized, however, that it was ultimately not the tips, tools, and affirmations that changed my life. It was my choice to change, my choice to try something new and try something different. I had been using affirmations for months to no avail before meeting Malane. But when she sat down with me and my family and spiritually educated us with Reverend Ike's book, Thinkonomics, in tow, my affirmations finally became effective. They were not effective because of my own reasoning, which was that I was doing a different type of affirmation and putting more energy into it. It was effective because I made a new and different choice. I was tired of embarrassing myself sitting in the circle with Malane because I had no positive evidence to show for all the things that she had taught us. Because I was so tired of being embarrassed, I made a new choice. My new choice was to commit to my practices and make new choices in alignment with them. Even though I still use affirmations and meditation, my intention behind their use was totally different. I now have the intention of causing change in my life at any cost, no matter how long it took or what I had to do. Before, I was loosely committed to my practices because I didn't really believe or expect for them to work. I also wasn't willing to commit to changing my life out of self-hate and low self-esteem, because if you're willing to accept a life of mediocrity, brokenness, and brokenness, you hating on yourself. Malane said all the affirmations, meditations, altars, EFT, crystals, whatever your thing is, has no impact on whether your life will change or not. The only way to really change your life is to make new choices. If you're not doing that, you're essentially running around in a big old circle, distracted by your ego, who is totally convinced that a breakthrough will come after you buy this new rainbow quartz crystal. It's very simple. Practice is not about what you do. It's not about your spiritual daily practices. It's not about reading a new book. Can you see the concepts you talk about or read about play out in your daily life? If not, you could use some practice. Practice is about using what you know actively throughout your life. For me, practice is like having an internal chat with myself. I've always been someone who identified as super sensitive. I've always been someone who identified as a super sensitive crybaby who takes everything personally. When you're out in the world, you can't take everything personally unless you like being on the verge of an emotional breakdown on a regular basis. I take both insults and compliments personally. If someone called me cute, I'd feed off that compliment for weeks, posting pictures and replicating the outfit and makeup I wore when the compliment was given. If someone was critical of my choices or behavior and corrected me, I'd immediately go into victim mode and burst into tears. During the first few months of me working as Malane's personal assistant, I burst into tears a lot. Being corrected was a huge trigger for me because I filtered the correction in my brain into some self-hating statement like, "You're terrible at your job and will probably get fired." That's not what Malane actually said, of course. In reality, she probably said something like, "Don't forget to check the work phone for messages." Even though I've always been aware of my choice to take things personally, I made no moves to change it, so the cycle continued. Sometimes something happens, I take it personally, I have a 3-day emotional breakdown and stagnate my entire life. Bye-bye, effortless stream of money. Bye-bye. Bye. Then I slowly come back to balance over as a few days go by. Rinse and repeat. When I was finally fed up with my emotional stress and strain that impacted both me and Malane, I prayed and decided I wasn't going to go through another breakdown that would risk my sanity and my relationships, especially my relationship with Malane. I chose to not take anything personally. I didn't read a new book. I didn't Google it and read an eHow article. I just started mentally telling myself, it's not personal. That's it. Nothing is personal. If you really need to understand this concept to, as Malane would say, go to the 10th power, go read the 4 agreements. Once I decided to stop taking things personally, the universe beautifully delivered many situations where my normal reaction would be to take everything personally. Because as Malane says, whenever you make a statement for something that you desire, whenever you are working on manifesting something, the first thing that's going to come is going to be the work, what you do not want, where you have to now practice being what you want in the situation where you are not seeing or feeling what you want. And sometimes this practice is just you saying, no, I don't want to have this experience. Letting the person or the situation leave. In the situation, you gotta say no again. Sometimes it's just like you have to practice. In this case, I had to practice not taking things personally in a situation where that would be my go-to, what I would normally do. So one day, Malane asked for my help to troubleshoot the television. My job was to pull the cords out the back of the television and put them in new sockets. I could already tell that Malane was frustrated from the television issue in the first place, as we already had a similar issue the day before. As I began to plug the cords into the new sockets, Malane corrected me on my method. She commented that the way I was handling the cords would damage them, which explained all the phone charger cords that I had that were hanging off the ends by wires. Normally, I would have gotten defensive about the whole thing, ego, or I would have turned to the victim, I'm just doing my best. But I made my new choice. Don't take it personally. We had a long day at work. The television was having issues and we were both really tired. I knew the energy I felt in the moment was more of a product of our joint tiredness. It wasn't directed towards me, about me, had nothing to do with me. I didn't even think about the correction long enough for my humanity to try and jump into its usual condition fit. Because really, the whole point of the correction was to save the cords from damage and prevent any cords on my part from suffering. Immediately after that situation, Malane complimented me on not taking things personally. I was so excited about receiving positive evidence and pushing through a situation where I'd ordinarily be triggered. Yet I had to remind myself again to not take the compliment personally. I filtered through my brain the compliment meant, I'm perfect, I'm healed. I have arrived, I'm changed, I can do no wrong, which was certainly not the case. Doing your internal work can show up in many different ways. For me, reminding myself to not take things personally was my practice and my new choice. I'm also working on being more responsible, so my practice for that is more of a physical action. I take initiative and don't wait for anyone to help or save me. Whatever your practice is, you know it's effective when you start to see external changes. People will begin to notice how different you are, or you'll start to attract new experiences and relationships. Another external change would be people falling out of your life. If it's been a few weeks and you haven't seen any positive evidence yet, check in with yourself. Is your practice really effective? Are you targeting the root of the problem, or are you hitting just the symptom? And are you practicing consistently? So if you'd like to get access to the do-it-yourself exercise this lesson, you can go to Malanenomics.wordpress.com. So that is all for this lesson, I believe. Thank you so much for watching. This again has been Law number 13, choose.